YouTube Bazzico in the Goat House is back after Super Wildcard Weekend in the first round of the NFL playoffs. Still got one game left. Monday night game. I'm expecting the Cardinals versus the Rams to be the best game. Hopefully that's the case. So we'll give a quick recap on that within our playoff power ranking video tomorrow, which is Tuesday. So excited about that game. We'll be talking about it live on Twitter, all my thoughts. So going to recap, give you my takeaways from these past wild card games that are finished up here. So I got some good takeaways. We'll see what these teams got moving forward, and what to look out for. So excited about this. Follow our Twitter. A lot going on there. Link down below for that. Link down below for a lot of recent videos. All kinds of playoff coverage, and we got off-season content rolling out already. Recent coaching videos, mock draft, free agents we talked about, and more. More on the way. So join us for that. So the first game, Bengals and Raiders was the first game, and 26-19 final. The Bengals take care of business here. I know the big talking point is the officials kind of messing up in the game with the wrong, mistake. They made the mistake of blowing that whistle in general, but the early whistle there mainly, and that's kind of ends up kind of covering up what happened the rest of this game, but to kind of touch on that, basically the way I look at it is the refs screwed the Bengals by blowing that whistle, so then that ended up screwing the Raiders. That's the way I look at it. They screwed the Bengals, so they had to screw the Raiders. So realistically, perfect world that the whistle does not get blown and it would still be a Bengals touchdown. So I kind of was talking on Twitter, would it be worse if what happened or if they had to go back and take away the touchdown that was going to be a clear touchdown? Because they blew it and blew the whistle. I think it'd be worse that way because there's a lot of people saying the whistle made players stop playing, and maybe, but it's a fact. It's clear that that's not what created the touchdown. The whistle blows, and a split second later, it's caught, touchdown. Boyd was wide open. So I think if the whistle doesn't, I know if the whistle doesn't blow, it's still a touchdown. So. Bad job by the refs, sloppy. It didn't really change. It doesn't change how these two teams played. The way I look at it there is the Raiders got to execute in that play better. They can't allow somebody to get open. They can't allow Joe Burrow to buy himself that much time. So it's poor execution by the Raiders there. Really, the refs didn't mess up, but the Raiders can't be banking on the refs to be blowing that whistle to take away the touchdown from the Bengals. You can't really bank on that. Not right. But yeah, I honestly, and people disagree. People, had a meltdown about the officiating, but I think the score reflects how these two teams played. I think the Bengals outplayed them. They may have actually outplayed them by more. The Raiders had a shot at the end. The Bengals got pretty damn conservative, which was a little surprising from Zach Taylor. And that Raiders actually had a shot at the end of the game, and they almost pulled off. That would have been pretty clutch. I think the mistake at the end, we'll kind of backtrack my thoughts on earlier in this game, but something right in the beginning I think stands out. But kind of at the end there, the mistake was the first down spike, not being prepared for that moment. Like, they don't have a play, a scenario. So I like the job that Bisaccia has done. But, him, the staff, Derek Carr, they got to have something ready in that play. You just burned a play there. In the fourth down play, kind of forced into double coverage short of the goal line. You wish you would have just tried to give your team a shot, but that's not the reason they lost that game. I think they got outplayed majority of this game. Really all of it until the end, I thought, there where the Raiders were trying to make that comeback. But going back to the start, Raiders are putting together a pretty good drive to start this game, and it's looking like, wow. You got the feel, all the other games, you got the feeling right away. If you watch all the other games, you understand what I'm saying. Right away, just based on how a team was moving the ball, like you kind of got that. It's a long game ahead still, but kind of got that feeling. Okay, this team's looking good. Are they going to win this game? They kind of got that feeling from all these other teams. And the Raiders, they were starting to march downfield. So I thought that was huge that the Bengals forced a field goal on that opening drive actually. And they went down and scored right after that. But looking at what the Bengals did defensively, very solid defense this year. On that first drive to force the stop. They switched it up. This is a team that really mix it up all year. You got the teams that run cover one. You got the teams that they kind of run strict cover two, cover three. And the Bengals were kind of cover three during the regular season, cover one, cover two, and then cover four, but they ran them pretty almost evenly, but in that order. And I like that, unpredictable. And that's what we saw on that drive. We saw a little bit of a little bit of everything. And that third down play was man coverage too. So just mixing it up, making Derek Carr kind of guess. The pre-snap adjustments are tough. The quarterbacks are trying to figure out what coverage they're in. And a lot of smart quarterbacks can figure it out. It's really hard. One of the hardest things to do, but people kind of goes unnoticed about playing the quarterback position. So it made it harder on Derek Carr. So the Bengals get the ball back and score. And what I noticed on that first drive is the Raiders were being the Raiders of what they did during the regular season. Gus Bradley's a good defensive mind, but cover three, just strict, firm cover three the whole way, it ends up being predictable. Joe Burrow could read coverages. He's a very smart young quarterback that is very talented, but he didn't need to because it was just so predictable, so obvious what the Raiders were going to run. And in cover three, the main thing is the corners. The corners they got thirds. They're mainly focused on deep thirds. Don't let anybody behind you, and they really targeted Brandon Facyson, and that was kind of the key because when they're kind of focused on deep thirds, sometimes you're kind of you're trying to turn around with the receiver upfield. You're getting your head around, and then that opens up the sideline back shoulder, like the timing routes. Like, all right, let's get this guy to turn around, and we're going to throw it. Act like we're going deep. And it was kind of Jamar Chase in that first drive, and the Bengals just knew what coverage they were in. And that's actually that might be, nobody really talking about it, but that might be the biggest difference between these two teams. And the Bengals had more offense. Joe Burrow was fantastic. Jamar Chase was fantastic. That's the key thing. That's a big thing there too. But the big thing to me is the difference in defenses. One very predictable, one very unpredictable, harder for quarterbacks to play against. Who had the harder job? Derek Carr had a much harder job than Joe Burrow. It's their defense's fault right there. So that stood out to me. And the Raiders have the worst red zone defense in football, but they were actually stepping up. If the Bengals were getting touchdowns instead of field goals on some good trips to the red zone, this game would have been over a long time ago. So that, the Raiders stuck in the game. Give credit to the defense. And again, being a predictable defense, they still did an okay job, beat up defense. You look what they're putting out there on paper. It doesn't look like a playoff defense. It looks like it needs some work. Here and there, they got a couple good pass rushers. They got decent, solid players other than that, but you would think this defense would give up a lot more points to Joe Burrow and company here in the Bengals. Really, what was a bit disappointing, though, was the offense. You would expect the Raiders that they would have to score more points in this game. So just in that kind of – and they made the playoffs. They clutch up at the end of the year. Overall, it's a good football team, but we're looking bigger picture here, where you want to be. Where's this team heading in the offseason? They got, they need a lot on defense on paper, but the offense has got to be able to do more in a game like this to actually win the big games and make a run. So that's the tough part there. Like, only 19 points, and a lot of it came at the end. A lot of production came at the end. I mean, Derek Carr threw the ball. And he didn't play poorly by any means, but he threw the ball 54, 56 times, ballpark in that. It's one of the two. And they got 19 points. You got to get more going in that. The defense is supposed to be the weak spot, and it was pretty predictable, which was a problem for the Bengals to just keep going, moving, running the clock, and so that's a problem for the Raiders. That was kind of both sides of the ball. Like, you got to have one that steps up in the playoff time to be that kind of next level team. So that was kind of the problem there. Josh Jacobs was running pretty damn well against a pretty stout Bengals run D there. He was running extremely well. I wish, they were playing from behind most of this game. But, I mean, they were in it. They were in it at the end. If they would have ran the ball more and just not, maybe there's a little bit of panic. Like, all right, we're down. Derek Carr, throw the ball 56 times. You should be running the ball a little bit more, especially when it's effective. So it's not like terrible job by the coaching staff there. There's been much worse, but you got to realize what's working, and you can't really panic that early. In terms of the Bengals, Jamar Chase was lights out. Joe Mixon dominated the Raiders last time. We talked about that. Joe Mixon dominated the Raiders, and they didn't really need to do much passing game. It was just pretty much all Joe Mixon. And I talked about that might be in the Raiders' head. Did we worry about Joe Mixon, and does that open up the pass game? Do we still worry about their very solid pass game? Are they in their heads? And they kind of focused on stopping Joe Mixon. He was coming up a little bit limping sometimes. So monitor that, I suppose. But that opened things up in the passing game. But a very good game plan from the Bengals. Like, let's not force Joe Mixon because it worked last time. Let's understand the Raiders will probably be in cover 3. They're pretty thin at corner. Casey Hayward could ball, but they're pretty thin at corner. Let's attack that. Let's do what we do best against what they really can't stop. So a great game plan from Zach Taylor and company. Joe Burrow was fantastic, buying himself some time. You would think the Raiders would get more pressure against kind of what is known as, in terms of a playoff offense line, a weaker offensive line, and especially the tear they were going on against the Chargers. I expected a little bit more pressure. When they did get pressure, Joe Burrow, either he escaped it in some way, in some form he escaped it. So fantastic job by him. Again, Jamar Chase. T. Higgins a little quiet. That's kind of the good thing, though, that they got these guys that everyone doesn't have to be firing on all cylinders on, and that's fantastic. They had Chase and Boyd going pretty much there. Chase is just fantastic playmaker already. And, yeah, I like that the Bengals mixed it up defensively. There is bad news in the Bengals. You won your first playoff game in 31 years. The bad news, they got pretty beat up in this game. They're going to lose Larry Ogunjobi for the year. Mike Daniels got hurt. Trey Hendrickson ended up getting a concussion, I believe, so he'll be in protocol. We'll see. Joe Mixon coming up limping sometimes. That's not ideal when you're going on to play a fresh and getting fresher Tennessee Titans team. That's not ideal. But it's still obviously a very dangerous team. It's good to get their playoff win there. Anything else I want to touch on? Just trying to think here. Yeah, end up being a pretty entertaining. Oh, yeah, the Bengals kind of getting conservative there. They get this beautiful, beautiful drive towards the end of the game that rolls an insane amount of clock, and they end up with 4th and inches. I mean, so close. And you understand kicking a field goal. It's not like wrong choice. You shouldn't have kicked the field goal. You understand to make it a 2-score game. Let's trust our defense. There still was a decent amount of time, though, there. And if you go for it and get it, I think it's a high percentage chance of converting. The game's pretty much over. It's pretty much over. So surprised they got conservative. They got pretty conservative when they got the ball back and gave the Raiders a shot. So the Bengals really had no business allowing the Raiders to stay in that game. So that kind of worries you a little bit going forward because you got to stay consistent with the execution on the field on both sides of the ball and with the coaching, the decision-making against the best of the best here moving forward. So didn't like the ultra-conservative moves there, decisions by Zach Taylor. I love the game plan, though. They didn't really go down the stretch. Is that a bad or a good thing? You didn't really need to. You almost needed to. You can save some things. Got a little scary, though. So Bengals win. They move on. Moving on to the next game. Yeah, wow. 47-17. The Bills win in dominating fashion in the cold against a rival team here. There was quite a few ass beatings, actually, this week. Quite a few ass beatings. And now I guess we could debate on which one was the biggest ass beating. I guess kind of debatable looking at both sides of the ball for all those teams. If you look at the offensive side, maybe the Bills. But we'll say that's debatable. We'll say this. Who was the most impressive team this week? Who was the most impressive ass beating? I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. And in the freezing cold, Josh Allen balling out. 300, top of my head, 308 yards. I believe that is actually accurate. 308 yards and 5 touchdowns off 25 or so throws. It's pretty ridiculous. And man, here's the thing. People are going to get hyped on the Bills. People were already hyped on the Bills. People are going to get hyped on the Bills because of dominating win here. I think it's small to me. I'm looking bigger picture here. Taking another step here. Why should we be hyped on the Bills? Well, dominating win the first round. They look pretty good. Okay, what's the next step? They played a team that, I thought the Patriots actually not the best AFC playoff team. That was obvious going into it, and it's even more obvious now. But I thought matchup-wise, maybe this was one of the more tougher matchups. I'm playing a division rival for the third time. They've given you problems in the past. A Belichick defense. They're very good at running the ball. The Bills struggle to sometimes stop the run. I think this actually, mainly being that division rival, third time playing in the cold, it might be a tougher matchup than some teams that we're all aware being better than the Patriots. Really, it's all about matchup in the playoffs, and they dominate. We thought was a dominant match, tough matchups. That, raises the bar a little. That raises our confidence with the Bills even more. But I'm going to look even deeper here. Last year, not this season, not this regular season, one before, the Bills got really, really hot at one point. best team in football, maybe debatable, I guess, but it really felt like portion of the regular season. And if you were with us then, I kept raving on Brian Daboll's playbook. I mean, just a wide variety of plays, and they use them all. They use all these different plays, whether it's airing the ball deep downfield, kind of playing underneath game. They were running the ball at that point. They were running the ball with Singletary, Moss, with Josh Allen. I mean, they would throw options out there. They would throw, just straight up dropbacks. They would, RPO, read options, anything. They had it. And it was like, and that's kind of what my rave reports on the Bills were last year when they were hot. I'm like, this is a problem to stop. They got the players to execute. It's like how you have to game plan for all these different types of plays and figure out how to stop them, and then you have to guess when each one is kind of coming, because that's what defense is about. It's a guessing game. Big problem. And then the Bills went in the postseason, and they did make it to the AFC Championship game, but their offense was a little bit underwhelming it got hot at the end of the Colts game. They got outplayed in that Colts game. But the offense, it was just everyone's game plan for the pass. Things were made harder on Josh Allen, was made harder on the offensive line. They weren't really running the ball. They took that big playbook and they squeezed it. They squeezed that playbook, and it was a little disappointing going into this year. Start off a few games kind of hot and cold, and then they got a little cold. People were doubting about them even making the playoffs. I think we were pretty confident they were making the playoffs. Some people thought that, and they were like, we were all thinking, this team's not that good, and it was just still there that the playbook was. It wasn't that big playbook, and there wasn't a variety of plays. They weren't running the ball, and then we get in the playoffs, and you see everything. Brian Daboll, Josh Allen, these guys, they throw everything at the New England Patriots because it's a dangerous division rival. You don't know what Belichick has up his sleeve. Let's go throw everything at him at home here to get off on a high note, and they did. So it's a little bit backwards from last year. They show everything and kind of go away from it, maybe because they thought it was predictable. I think overthinking things. You can game plan for some things that you see, but doesn't mean you can stop it. So overthinking things last year. This year, kind of hiding a little bit, made things interesting during the year. And then it's only one playoff game, but bring back that giant playbook and use those plays. And Josh Allen, Singletary, Knox, all these guys. The offensive line was fantastic. These guys executed too. So that is where I get hyped in the Bills. I think there's probably too many people like 47-17 against division rival. Oh, the Bills are going to do this every week. They're going to dominate. Not necessarily. Matchups different. I look more, again, what I said, all of the above, and what the Bills are doing. It's very hard to game plan against. The offensive line was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If the offensive line keeps it up like that, that's the team right there. Really, that's the line is actually where it starts. And then the quarterback's got to execute, and he did. Defensively, they played a great game again. A lot of these teams that I've noticed that a lot of these teams that are dominating on defense, especially in the first round, where's their weakest spot in their defense? Maybe it's not necessarily weak, but where is their weakest spot? Cornerback. The Bills are a little thin. You wouldn't even know Tre'Davious White wasn't out there. A little thin at corner. And the Bengals are fine at corner. We talk about the Bengals, a great defensive performance, but maybe that's their weakest spot. The Buccaneers are thin at corner. 49ers might be thin. Teams are kind of showing that maybe it's not the most important position or at the top, and we can cover things up around that and play really balanced football. And that's where I like the Bills' defense, get pressure. The safety duo is ridiculous. Yeah, kind of going to the start of the game. This game could have been a lot different. The Bills definitely still would have won, but it would have been pretty different if that Micah Hyde interception to start. The Bills go down there and score. Everyone's wondering, okay, the Bills are legit. Was that the script? Are Bill Belichick and the Patriots going to figure it out? We'll see if the Patriots can score. Mac Jones putting together a pretty decent drive, actually, escaping pressure, running, throwing some good balls. Brandon Bolden drops a bad one. He had space to turn around and run, too, some big space. And maybe that's where, the Bills' defense is great, but if you go play the next step, you go play the Chiefs, that's Tyreek Hill, or if it was a running back, a bullet, maybe it's Jet McKinnon. Probably execute that play, and that could change the whole game maybe, so that's why every matchup's different. But then I think Mac Jones throws a good ball to the end zone, too, and Micah Hyde just makes a ridiculous play. It might be all the offense the Bills had, other than that was probably the play of the game. Right there, and the Bills go down and score again. Patriots get the ball back. They have a third down, pretty manageable. Looks like Damian Harris has a first down. He goes straight to the sideline. I understand getting to the outside, but get to the outside and go get that first. Straight to the sideline. Hated that. Did not like to see that. And fail to execute again. And then they give the ball back to the Bills, and they're just. The Patriots are. getting bullied in the trenches, missing tackles. The Bills look faster on top of that. Mac Jones, didn't play nowhere near a great game. I thought Mac Jones might have been if you can consider something, the best spot of the Patriots. You would think if the Patriots got beat this bad that their rookie quarterback couldn't handle the moment. Not really the case at all, actually. The other players just weren't playing well, lack of execution. Bills playing way harder, way tougher, way more physical, way faster. So that was, it was kind of surprising to see that much of a beat down there. So the Bills looking balanced, looking pretty damn dangerous. They're going to play the Chiefs. Yeah, it's a different game. It's a different game, a lot different game than this one. Even though the Patriots might be a more interesting matchup, that you go to Kansas City instead of Buffalo. The Chiefs are starting to figure some things out. That's going to be a hell of a game there. Can't wait to see that. I guess the question with the Bills is, I like their offense right now. I really like the way their offense is playing. Their defense is playing fantastic. They're a little weak. They're a little thin at the cornerback position to do some of these high-powered passing attacks. Expose that, because things start to get exposed this time of the year. That is the question. Can the Chiefs do it? Is the Bills' defense that great? The safeties are covering a lot of ground. What I was saying is these teams need to attack the sideline early, force the safeties to come hop over the top, force them to the boundaries, and then you go to the middle of the field. I think the Chiefs have that formula with Tyreek Hill on the outside, then Travis Kelce the rest of the game in the middle. But the Bills have the offense, obviously, to put up some serious numbers on the Chiefs, and you would think the Bills' defense is definitely better as well. So basically, I think the Bills are the better team in Kansas City. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs could expose some weaknesses there that haven't really shown yet. That's why it's going to be a great game. That's why I cannot wait for this game. So really excited about that. Patriots end up being, maybe worse than we thought, really. Impressive with the Bills. Next game, Buccaneers, one of the more dominating performances on the week here in the Super Wildcard weekend. The score won't show and it shows good. It shows well for them. It won't show how much they beat them. Really, the defense, the offense was great. They kind of played small ball for most of this. Let's just get down the field, run the clock, just throw everything at them pretty much. And there was even some drops along the way. Perriman running bad routes, dropping the ball. Tyler Johnson with a couple of drops. And they started to pick it up a little bit. Wish they would use Scotty Miller a little bit more. He might actually be better than both those guys that I mentioned. Mike Evans just fine. He's fantastic. But Keyshawn Vaughn showing up there, without Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. And, the Eagles' defense has been good down the stretch, but this is just different. That's just the playoffs are just different. When you play these teams, it's just so much different. It's just different atmosphere, different game plan. And that's, we talked about it. What was the difference between the Raiders and the Bengals? People will look at it, the difference in explosive plays on the offense. That's true. I look at the defenses. They're way different. One's unpredictable. One's very predictable. Same thing here. Eagles just don't blitz. Very predictable defense. A lot of cover too. And then the Buccaneers, they blitz more than anyone in football. You don't know who's blitzing, who's just straight up rush the passer, who's dropping back in coverage, what kind of coverage they're in. They'll be in cover 3, cover 4, man coverage. It's really not rocket science, but it makes it look like these coaches are geniuses here, and the other ones are stupid. That's kind of what it looks like. And I guess that's what it is at the end of the day. But the Buccaneers dominated this game. Eagles had 0 I thought it was going to be a shutout, and it was pretty damn close to that. The Buccaneers defense deserves that credit. They played lights out. I don't know if a certain guy stood out by himself on defense. Devin White was flying around the field. Vita Vea was collapsed in the pocket pretty freaking early. Carlton Davis had a pretty good game. The two safeties, that's something I noticed too. I talked about from all these great defensive performances, and the Buccaneers aren't weak at corner. Carlton Davis is a hell of a corner, but that's where they're thin at, their weakest spot. So the teams are just balling around that. But the safeties too, the Bengals, Jesse Bates played a great game. The lead safety duo, the Bills, played a great game, and then Whitehead and Winfield were everywhere in this game, everywhere. So it's just a hell of a performance by the Buccaneers. Defense is changing, but that's kind of what that story is, So fantastic performance. Eagles just couldn't get much going. It's same thing with going back to the Patriots, kind of a run-first team, a team that relies on the run. a team that got the run taken away from them very early because they were so far down. Teams can we're going to play the pass. We're going to rush the passer because they're not going to come back, just run the ball, run the clock. Same thing here. The teams that are kind of one-dimensional, Eagles, they got the run taken away. I mean, the number one run team in football. Were they really, though? When you put all the best teams together, no, they weren't. But statistically, they were on the regular season. At the end of the day, they're a very good run team, though. We can agree on that. But taken away from them, can't do much. Makes Jalen Hurts' job a lot harder, and something that he's really not good at with is passing in obvious pass situations. Yeah, he had a sloppy game, little bit off target, some panic to his game. He has to think too much. It's a problem. Guys, even Tom Brady, who aren't the most athletic guys, when pressure's on them, it's just something just kicks in, and you see him duck away from pressure, move his feet a certain way, or just get the ball out quick. And then guys like Jalen Hurts are just thinking too much. He forgets that he has the ability to escape that pressure. Panics a little bit. He throws. This was a problem in the past. He just throw unnecessary. We see these guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. They make these wild throws in uncomfortable situations off the back foot, on the run, just awkward. And they make these beautiful throws. And everyone goes, wow. And why those are good is because those quarterbacks had to throw like that. They were put in an uncomfortable situation. They had to. But Jalen Hurts puts himself in those situations. Sometimes he thinks he has to make it harder on himself. Well, he has to throw in hard situations, but he's actually making it harder on himself. So really a bad outing for Jalen Hurts here. And then, with 3 draft picks, it's going to be a topic this year, this offseason. Are the Eagles going to go for a quarterback to get better at quarterback? Say, hey, we made the playoffs and we can get better at quarterback. Perhaps easier said than done when it comes to getting. You can't just snap your finger and get better at quarterback, but it's possible. It's possible. So we'll see how they evaluate the situation here. People calling for Gardner Minshew. I mean, we heard that Hurts was apparently hurt after the game. He was in a boot. So, I guess why didn't Minshew come in? I suppose. But you made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts. You expect him to go out there and play more, so I understand that. Yeah, just not much going for them. I wish they would have just schemed up things, get Devontae Smith the ball earlier. Not that it would have mattered that much. Defense just wasn't nowhere near what it was at the end of the season. I guess the NFC East teams, we'll talk about the Cowboys. Yeah, they beat up on the other NFC East teams, and they kind of had weaker schedules, and it kind of made them look better than they were because, it made the defense look like it was one of the better ones in football. Reality was, when you go play a team like Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a playoff atmosphere, it's nowhere near that good of a defense. That's just reality. You don't like to hear it maybe if you're an Eagles fan. It's reality. It is what it is. So they got young players, though. I like what I see from Milton Williams, Devontae Smith, Kenneth Gainwell. They got some young players, so see if they can they got 3 draft picks. I'd love to be an Eagles fan, actually. Not maybe off yesterday, but for the offseason, I'd be so jacked up for the draft. The offseason in general. So that's the good thing there. Yeah, the Bucs go out and dominate this game. Love the defensive performance. Offense did their thing. Getting Mike Evans, Gronk going. Early on, you saw the weakness of being thin at receiver. And this is going to be a problem. Just the bad routes and the bad drops from anything other than Mike Evans in Gronk, but mainly talking about receiver. So they picked it up after, and I think Brady can find a way to work around it. I know, but if you want to be the best of the best, will that haunt them a little bit? And they got beat up a little bit. Tristan Wirfs, I hated they put him back in. He was clearly limping. Jensen, I thought it looked serious, but he ended up coming back in. But so maybe a little beat up in this game. Just worry about Tristan Wirfs. So that's something to monitor there. Can't afford more injuries. They should be getting Fournette and Ronald Jones back, but a little thin at receivers, something to watch for there. The next game, the 49ers and the Cowboys. Yeah, the 49ers started this game so strong. They get the ball first, and they go out and 7 plays, just dominate it, just work the Cowboys. They just work them, and you're thinking, uh-oh. But I'm thinking, the Cowboys, with Dak Prescott, all these receivers, they in the running backs, they should. And the 49ers defense has been playing well. It's been playing well. It's a very good defense this year, well coached, but a little thin at corner. That kind of comes up again. The defense that dominator, kind of the weakest spots at corner. They're managing to hide it. It's just a different league now. Cowboys, there's really no reason they shouldn't have success, but they come out and they get stuffed on a second down run. They get sacked. Nick Bosa ends up getting hurt and missing most of this game too. 49ers, the 49ers could have put this game away a long time ago. Field goals instead of touchdowns. it was weird because they were actually clutching. There was some clutch third down plays for 49ers, like the extend drives. But then there was third down when they get in the red zone, well, not necessarily the red zone, I guess. When they actually got into the red zone, technically, they were pretty good. So it was more of Cowboys territory before the red zone. So I should clear that up there. Because the 49ers get in the red zone, they're probably scoring a touchdown, So I guess if they got touchdowns instead of field goals, I guess I wish they would have ran the ball a little bit more. They didn't run it a lot, but it was pretty effective. Just kind of nitpicking here, maybe why they could have put them away. Some mistakes, roughing the punter, which was the right call. Not nearly as many mistakes the Cowboys made, which we'll get to. The Garoppolo interception. That can't really happen, obviously, to keep them in the game. Run the ball a little more. The 49ers, they outcoached the Cowboys by a pretty wide margin in terms of the game plan and preparing for this game. In terms of play calling, I don't know, but they're I don't think there's much of a difference in terms of actual in-game play calling. People will rip the Cowboys play calling because that's the easiest things for fans to blame when they don't want to blame the players. Play calling was actually fine. There was actually some adjustments there. I hate everyone kind of hates the play call at the end there, but that's not what decided this game. I'm just 49ers staff prepared the team more. They're more disciplined. They had the better game plan maybe going into this game, and that's a big reason why the 49ers won. They made things interesting at the end. Some lack of execution, sloppy moments at the end, I suppose. But they outplayed it. Get that straight. 49ers outplayed the Cowboys this game. They deserve to win. They deserve to win because they outplayed the Cowboys. They probably deserve to win by more in this. Probably shouldn't have came down that last drive. Maybe similar to the Bengals-Raiders game in that aspect. Let me talk about the Cowboys, though. Pretty undisciplined. You can put that on the staff. I did not like that. I like the fake punt, but keeping the punt team out there would end up being a delay of game. Didn't like that. The last play calling a QB draw. Didn't like that. That really wasn't the worst thing. It was a gamble. It was bad, but it wasn't the worst thing. I think Dak should have slid down earlier so they would have a chance to spike it. They just saw the middle of the field was wide open. They want to make it a one-throw distance to get in the end zone. That's not what decided this game. So those things I didn't really like about the staff, but people I think are too focused on ripping the staff right now. People will disagree, but I'm gonna give you reality right now. The play calling was actually fine. One thing I don't like is Zeke getting way more touches with Pollard. Zeke's hurt. Pollard might be better, more explosive. I don't like that it's not play calling though. The play calling was fine. They actually adjusted they came up with some one-read plays because Dak really couldn't get much going. They came up with one-read plays, kind of small ball underneath, and that was actually working. And then it was working there. So I thought they adjusted pretty well as well there. And there's a lot of things to blame. We already talked about the staff not having them disciplined enough. At the same time, the players, it's kind of at a certain point you got to kind of put it on the players as well. You got to execute. You can't make these sloppy mistakes. And there's a lot of flags in the Cowboys, and they were pretty blatant flags. There was one I kind of could argue is defensive holding. There was two defensive holdings. One was correct. One on Gregory. They kind of bear hugged each other, and he ripped them off him to get by. I definitely wouldn't call that one. It didn't really affect the game at all. All these calls were right. Offensive line wasn't a normal Cowboys offensive line. I think people are blowing it up a little bit more. That's why pressure numbers are extremely misleading and overrated because it could count as a pressure if it didn't happen, but if a quarterback holds the ball for 5 minutes, was exaggerate a little bit, and then they get pressure, it counts as a pressure. So offensive line didn't play well. There was a couple times where they allowed instant pressure, but if you look at the pressure numbers, it would tell you they allowed instant pressure a load of times. Not the case, and we'll talk about the defense as well, but Dak Prescott did not play a good game. And people are, I love Dak Prescott. Let's get that away. I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I'm always rooting for Dak. I want him to be great because I think he could be great. He most certainly was nowhere near great in this game. And to be a great quarterback, you got to be able to find a way. You got to be able in these big games, you have to be able to find a way. And he could not find a way. And he has weapons. And we see the great Dak Prescott during the regular season. He makes tight window throws. He throws receivers open. It's a beautiful thing. He escapes pressure with his legs, throws on the run, throws before the pressure gets to him, runs himself. He wasn't doing any of these things. He was not doing any of these things. I think he had one throw where it's like, that's a Dak Prescott throw in this game. I think it was to Schultz. That's the thing. Is Dak Prescott the number? Is he the only blame? Absolutely not. Is he the number one blame? Probably not. I expect more in this moment. We're looking for greatness, and I cannot call him a great quarterback unless he can find a way to win. And he has weapons too. He has the receivers. He has the weapons, and he did not play a good game. Missing throws, not seeing guys early enough. That was early on for the most part. Holding the ball too long. People will blame the offensive line. Well, people are blaming everything else around him. They're basically saying we need everything perfect for our quarterback. So in a way, those people don't realize they're kind of ripping their quarterback a little bit without trying to rip their quarterback. You want everything perfect around this guy. So you're saying he's not a great quarterback that could find a way to win. Just wasn't thrilled. I expect Dak to be able to find a way, and he just was hesitant to, again, escape the pressure. Quarterbacks that, even the ones where, he doesn't have a lot of time, but, you got to get the ball out, if you want to be a great quarterback and find a way to win here. So I was not, because I like Dak a lot, and I think he can be great. I do want him to be great, and so it's probably one of the more things, probably the most thing I'm disappointed about the playoffs so far. I'm bummed about it, really. I expect a lot more. Expect a lot more for sure. And so it's hard to. He's just kind of in that top tier of the good tier quarterbacks. It's hard. There's these quarterbacks that are so great in regular season, but this is the time. Can they go find a way to win? And there's some quarterbacks that somehow manage to do it with less help as well. I think the Cowboys have the talent. So again, keep saying it. People are gonna be upset when we saying it because everyone loves their quarterback. I love that quarterback too. It's not even my quarterback. It's reality though. It's not something I'm gonna debate. He's got to play a lot better. You start to question it. Starting to question Cowboys too. And it's something I don't like either. There's a lot of people that don't like the Cowboys out there, probably because they call themselves America's team. There's a lot of fans. Maybe that's why I don't dislike any team. But those people are doubting the Cowboys. They're hating on the Cowboys. They're saying they can't win the big games. It's probably because they don't like them. But the Cowboys went out there and proved those people right, unfortunately. So it's just a tough outing for them. If they don't make that many sloppy mistakes, it's probably the penalties and the sloppy mistakes, false starts, things like that. That's the number one thing. Like if they don't go out there and do that, they probably can win this game. But the 49ers came out there and punched them in the mouth to start, and they were more disciplined. They were better coached. They played a lot harder in this game, and that was the difference. And people were kind of focused on the end there, the very end. That's not what decided this game. It's not even close. It's not even close to what decided this game. Going to the Cowboys defense, they did adjust down the stretch. They did adjust, and they were starting to play a little better. Guys flying around the field. But the way they started was not good. And it kind of goes into one of my weaknesses for the Cowboys going into the postseason. It's kind of a question mark. Are they a predictable defense? Because they're in man coverage about 51% of the time this year, which is absurd. It's an insane amount of man coverage. It worked in the regular season, but when you get to the playoffs, all about the game plan. Are you predictable? And they're pretty predictable. You're in man coverage constantly. This defense is built around Micah Parsons. If you take Micah Parsons away from this defense, you got problems because he's the only unpredictable part about that defense. What the hell is he doing pre-snap? Is he dropping back? Is he rushing? Is he rushing from the inside, outside? What the hell is he blitzing? Because sometimes he's off ball. That's the unpredictable part. Mike Parsons is actually about to get Dan Quinn a job. I think Dan Quinn is a good defensive mind, understands talent. That's a key thing. Pretty predictable defense. But what on the interception, they actually ran cover 2. They actually ran something different. I saw that live. I saw it mid-play. I'm like, they're in cover 2, and then all of a sudden a pick. So I was like, wow, they're in cover 2. And Jimmy did throw it kind of bad throw, threw it right to him. But the first thing is Jimmy thought they were in man coverage. I don't blame him. He thought they were in man coverage. Sometimes you don't see everything on the field. It's hard to see every single thing. Sometimes you got to expect things. All right, it's man coverage. Safety's not going to be there. He's going to be in no man's land somewhere else, maybe man on someone. Nope. Shit, it's cover 2, boom, right to the safety. So that one play, you give Dan Quinn credit for finally switching it up, but finally is the key word there. Was it too late? And again, adjustments were made. He had the defense playing a little better at the end. There's just too much man coverage, and just relying on, and they get pretty good pressure, but just relying on constant pressure, because when there is no pressure, which that's going to exist for every team, the cornerbacks can't cover a man that long against guys like Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, quick, twitchy guys. No man can do it. No man, could do that. So make the job harder on your defense. With this, it's crazy, honestly, that it's not the end of the world, but that Dan Quinn's going to get a head coaching job, honestly. But again, they adjusted a bit there. 49ers, again, credit to the game plan, credit to kind of just come out there playing hard. Deebo Samuel is a freak. Besides the interception, I thought Garoppolo played all right. I thought he played fine. Defense, D'Amico Ryans, that defense, fantastic. Hopefully Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are all right. That's key against the Packers. I think the 49ers match up well against the Packers. With other teams, we're going to go into Lambeau, the freezing cold, and be able to just outplay the Packers. I think the only team in the second round is going to be the 49ers, that physical team that lives for that kind of stuff, that has offense and defense. I think the 49ers are probably the best bet for the Packers, other than maybe Tom Brady in an NFC championship type atmosphere, maybe. So 49ers, tough game plan for the Packers, but if guys like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner or just one of them can't go, that's pretty tough. But the defense did a great job. Well-coached defense, mixing things up. Pressure was ridiculous, even without Nick Bosa. He had a good battle with La'el Collins going on. There was a rep where it was like, wow, Nick Bosa. And there was a rep like, wow, La'el Collins. Like, they had a good battle going on for a little bit there, and they got hurt. And there was one point where it was a fourth down, and the 49ers just all-out blitz, cover zero, blitz Dak Prescott, and Dak actually had Cedric Wilson. He threw it. It was actually a pretty good throw by Dak. Wilson fell down. That was a risky gamble. Something the 49ers don't do. It's unpredictable. I like that. It almost backfired on them and ended up looking pretty good. But the 49ers, that defense is getting better and better. Just an extremely disappointing outing from the Cowboys. They have the talent. Again, you blame the coaching staff, and the people blaming them for play calling, they're wrong, and they're looking at just that last play too much. Maybe that punt situation. The fake punt was good though. Just what after that, the play calling was fine. It was fine, and I to me that's something that ain't up for debate for me. It wasn't maybe beautiful play calling. There was some pretty well called drives, but you can blame the coaches, I should say, for having the players undisciplined, but the players just can't have their hands held to not make mistakes, not make penalties. And they have the talented players. It'd be one thing if they didn't have the talented players. They have the talented players to execute, and they did not execute. Extremely disappointing. And Cowboys got negative cap space, not a lot of ways to clear it, so they go into not the best offseason. They're going to be a good team next year, but they go into not the best offseason. So usually those teams in those situations are kind of a Super Bowl or bust type teams, and they're losing the first round against 6-seed 49ers. 49ers are a dangerous team, don't get me wrong. The Cowboys, you expect them to handle a 6-seed 49ers team that isn't overly great throwing the ball, maybe solid in this game. You only can blame yourselves if you're the Cowboys, really. You can't blame anything else. You can't blame anything else here. And then the last game, and again, there's a game tonight. We'll be talking live on Twitter during that. But the Chiefs win 42-21 against the Steelers. End up kind of being more scoring, actually, for the Chiefs, because the Steelers' defense was most certainly not the same as what it used to be. But it's still, at any given time, could be a pretty stout defense, sort of. So I guess pretty impressive for the Chiefs to go out and score 42. And I kind of wonder in this game, will the Chiefs try to not show all their cards and just try to just beat the Steelers because they're better than them and not try to show everything? And I really think that was actually the case, what they did. I was kind of wondering it. TJ Watt gets a scoop and score a touchdown. Chiefs at that point couldn't get anything going on offense. They're down 7-0. I'm like, what were they doing? They trying to just show some weird things that, hide some things at the same time? Wondering that, thinking that, it's in the back of my head, and then the Chiefs go out and they're scoring. They're pissed off. They're realizing Steelers aren't messing around. So I really think that the Chiefs, they know they're playing the Bills next week. Hot Buffalo Bills team, dangerous team. I think they tried to hide some things a little bit. Steelers defense was giving them some problems. They weren't going to let them walk over them, but then they kind of did, just because the Chiefs are that much faster, more explosive, better. So they were kind of throwing everything at them. Mahomes played a great game, barely completed any passes. They got Jerick McKinnon going. Jerick McKinnon was on fire. Running backs could be maybe the key to beat the Bills too. Like I said, I think with their corners, I think if you use speed on the sideline to force their safeties to play boundaries, and you have Tyreek Hill to do that, and then you have Kelsey and a guy like McKinnon maybe to take over the middle of the field, that actually could be the key to beat the Bills. I think the Chiefs have it. Do they have the defense? So that's the question. But, TJ Watt started this game. They're very good and kind of helping this game. Steelers didn't have enough. Kind of looking at the game plan. We know the Chiefs got offense. We know they are going to score. Can the Steelers keep up? And they can't keep up, just where their offense is right now. They got some talent here and there. They got a lot of cap space going forward, so that's something to look forward to. Wonder what the situation with quarterback is going forward. So there's things that are intriguing and maybe be excited about. I just really didn't have it for this matchup against the Chiefs. They started off strong. I mean, they came out and played hard, and they weren't going to let the Chiefs tried. The Chiefs, I'm telling you, they wanted to come in here and just walk over the Steelers without trying. I really think so. And the Steelers were not having any of that. So that's where you got to respect them. But the Chiefs were throwing everything at them. Now you see how dangerous they are. Patrick Mahomes and company. They were starting to get more pressure on defense as the game went on as well. Tighten coverage. It's a great outing. It's what they should do, though. 42 points is impressive. It's another one of those ass beatings on the week, throwing up a lot of points. They'll go play the Bills. I think it's a great matchup. You look at the whole roster, or maybe look at the balance, both sides of the ball. It's probably where most people would argue the Bills are the better team, maybe. It's definitely not all that matters, though, in the postseason. You go to Kansas City. You're going to Kansas City, and the Chiefs actually might have the formula. Like I said, I want them to start outside, work the sidelines, get the speed of Tyreek Hill, make them fear that. Don't use it a whole lot. Use it just early on. Make those star safeties play boundaries. Open up the middle of the field, which the Chiefs are great at with Kelsey and company. You can even run the ball then, and that could be the key. And I think they'll do that with the offense. But I think the Bills' offense is going to have a lot of success. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think, the Bills' defense has been stout. I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait for that game. Cannot wait for the Monday night game. We still got one more game for Super Wildcard Weekend here. The best game, in my opinion. I hope it's not a beatdown. I don't see how it would be. I think a team can get up 2 scores, get up maybe 17 in this game, and I still think it'll end up close. Maybe wishful thinking. I think it's going to be close, though. It should be a lot of offense, a lot on the quarterbacks. Can they win the big games? Murray's got a long career ahead of him. Stafford, can he win the big games? Can he take care of the ball? Can Kyler Murray take that next step? Can you become that great quarterback in the playoff where it matters most? Teams that the Cardinals, kind of like the Bills, they have this wide variety of plays. Do they actually use it and throw it at them to create problems? The Rams have the ability to change how they play because they can. They can actually pound the football. They can actually play, run some play action, play some small ball, play the unexpected. So this is the best game. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot to look forward to in this game. I can't wait. So we'll have you covered on Twitter. We'll try to recap that real quick while we do our playoff power rankings updated, which will be tomorrow, which is Tuesday. We have our weekly picks and everything. We have off-season videos coming out like crazy. We already got a bunch up. They're on the channel. There's links to them down in the description along with our Twitter. Check all that out. It'd be much, much appreciated. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.